Objective journalism has an immense capacity to serve as a watchdog over those whose power and position most affect citizens. It can also offer voice to the voiceless. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Sunday Christopher AIMUAMWOSA. I am a journalist and a filmmaker. And today, we will be talking about the importance of objective journalism. In this era when much research can be done online and the public is saturated by fragmented, superficial, and often misleading news, objective journalism is imperatively important. Objective journalism or reporting is meant to portray issues and events in a neutral and unbiased manner, regardless of the journalist's opinion or personal beliefs. It is this kind of journalism that separates the reporting of facts from the journalist or news organization's own interest or assertions.
Och glappet mellan inre case och yttre case fördagsarbetslöshet är jättehögt. Men vad tror du detta beror på?
Journalists owe it to the public to present the facts, whether or not they like or agree with those facts. But today, the combination of greed, corruption, and partisanship has transformed journalism, especially in most African countries, into a polluted dystopia, and it's causing it to die a slow death.
And as every journalist was leaving, they were handed an envelope, which I think had a 50,000 naira, which is about $200-300 roughly.
And I was aghast because when he mentioned money, journalists immediately changed and they were suggesting to him what he should say and what he should do.
And to maintain objectivity in journalism, journalists have to adhere strictly to the 5 core principles of ethical journalism. Journalists cannot always guarantee truth, but fact-checking and bulletproofing your story is extremely important. Robert J. Dolph, a New York Times data journalist, said, "It is very well possible that your story is true, but wrong." Journalists should always approach every story with skepticism and endeavor to get the facts right. To determine the veracity and correctness of any information is one of the fundamental principles of objective journalism. We should always strive for accuracy, give all the relevant facts we have, and ensure they have been checked, double-checked, or even triple-checked. And if it happens that we cannot corroborate information, we should say so. It is okay to say so. We can also put a disclaimer that the information has not been independently verified. And this will give your audience the confidence that you know how to assess what facts to trust. If we take, for example, the case of Premier Times in June 2018, when one of its reporters, Andrew Ajija, was fired over a story he credited to Mr. Danladi Chiroma, the North Central leader of Miyetti Allah, regarding the violence in Plateau State in which over 100 people were killed. Miyetti Allah distanced itself from this report that actually went viral and the insinuations that it justified the killings of over 100 persons in the state. And internal investigations by Premier Times revealed that there was no recording of an interview in which Mr. Chiroma made that statement. Neither was any statement signed or circulated by him that contained the quotes. The story actually turned out to be false. The management of Premier Times had to apologize to Mr. Chiroma over the story. Half true is false. Anything short of true is wrong, and we cannot afford to be wrong. Journalists must be independent voices. We should not act formally or informally on behalf of special interests, whether political, corporate, or cultural. A perfect example is when a Nigerian 2019 presidential aspirant, who also happens to be the publisher at the popular online news medium Sahara Reporters, Sowore, created a political party, the African Action Congress AAC, in a bid to run for president in the 2019 general elections in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And after he lost the elections, he came out to the streets and called for a change of government by revolution.
Now we kick off the show by heading to Nigeria, where rights groups are urging the release of activist and ex-presidential candidate who was rearrested on Friday at a court hearing hours after he was freed on bail. Omoyele Sowore, who ran against President Muhammadu Buhari in February's election, was first arrested in August and has pleaded not guilty to charges of treason, money laundering and harassing the president.
Now in Nigeria, controversy continues to mount over the charges filed against Omoyele Sowore, the former presidential candidate and publisher of the online newspaper Sahara Reporters. Mr. Sowore is accused of 7 counts of treasonable felony and money laundering, as well as insulting President Muhammadu Buhari.
We have at hand a situation whereby someone that contested election and lost, and is eventually calling on change of government, revolution and change of government through means other than the constitutionally recognized means. And to our mind, that constitutes a treasonable felony.
The Nigerian government considered this a treasonable offense, and he was subsequently arrested and detained by the Department of State Service.
We turn now to Nigeria, where journalist and pro-democracy activist Omoyele Sowore is entering his 2nd month in jail for calling for peaceful nationwide protests against the government.
The wife of detained Nigerian journalist Omoyele Sowore is calling on the UN to help free her husband.
New Jersey journalist who spent months jailed in Nigeria. Well, he's finally been released on bail, but the fight for his freedom is not over.
Sowore runs an online publication that speaks out against corruption and human rights violations in Nigeria. His supporters want the American government to step in.
It is therefore apparent that the media didn't know about his political affiliations, or they chose to ignore it. According to the Society of Professional Journalists, the answer to the question about whether or not journalists should engage in political activity is no. Don't do it. Don't get involved. Don't contribute money. Don't work in campaigns. Don't lobby, and especially don't run for office yourself. So that's it for this week. Next week, we will talk about the other core principles of how objectivity in journalism can be maintained. If you have any question, comment, or thought, make sure you leave it in the comment section below and we will discuss them. And don't also forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. Thank you and see you next week.